Hello. The 27th of April marked one of the most important days in the history of comic book movies. Unless you're totally oblivious to pop culture, you know that I'm talking about Marvel Studios' 19th movie, Avengers Infinity War. It brought together more than 70 beloved characters to the big screen in a 160 minutes intergalactic superheroic battle, a culmination of 10 years of planning. The movie is based around the entry of the most dreaded villain in Marvel Cinematic Universe, Thanos. Thanos claims to be God, and in his standoff against the Avengers, it becomes pretty clear that they are in for the fight of their lives. The best part was that this is not a hero versus villain story, where the villain gets his ego handed to him in the end. Instead, the movie is very realistic in depicting that if your preparations fall short in fighting the greatest villain, you will lose. If you're not a Marvel fan, you'll understand that you can be wiped out even with a snap of a finger. In that moment of conflict, it didn't matter how strong the Avengers were as a group. What mattered was that their vulnerabilities was exploited. Let me tell you that I'm not promoting the movie for Marvel Studios. Instead, there is a very important lesson here. Every Avenger has their Thanos. Every application developer, software engineer, or even your software tester will have a cybercriminal that wishes to exploit your program's weaknesses. While Thanos was still a known threat, the Avengers knew that the coming of Thanos was inevitable, and yet they lost their war. They couldn't live up to the challenge. Cybercriminals, on the other hand, often remain in the dark and will attack you when you least expect it from the area that you are least concerned about. Are you putting in your best, day in, day out, to prepare for your Thanos, for your Infinity War? That's my question to you. If you're a team leader who manages a hectic software release, or a tester who is pressured to report bugs over the weekend, or a developer who is knee-deep into multiple projects, you would be disappointed to know that less than 1% of security spending today is on application security. Isn't that ridiculous? And what does that mean to the regular internet user? Mozilla, one of the world's largest open source communities, conducted a very interesting study in 2017 where Alexa top 1 million websites were analyzed for web application security risks. It found out that over 64% of large-scale global websites face at least one vulnerability or security concern. The bottom line, folks, is simple. The majority of the internet is unsafe. Let's take an active look at this claim. As of today, there are more than 1.8 billion websites that are active internationally for more than 3.5 billion internet users across the globe. With the understanding that all websites exhibit some form of vulnerability or another, it's legitimate to say that the personal data of 3.5 billion users across the globe can be at risk. And it's only a matter of time before the credentials of your clients will be hacked. Or maybe it already is, and you don't know about it. As a customer, what do you think is common at these points of purchases? They all use software applications, and they all have been compromised, resulting in the theft of millions of credit card data of their customers. These are very big names. It is highly likely that in the past 2 years, you have logged onto or swiped your card at any of these brands. The likelihood is that your data records may have already been breached. So who's the culprit here? The underpreparedness of application security teams is probably the main culprit. The implementation of security at every single step in the software development lifecycle is where the problem largely lies. Talking about preparation and focus, up to a few years back, network perimeter defense was the king of security. However, today, that's just not enough. Given the prevalence of application-based attacks, some security practitioners have been expressing frustration with the limitations of firewalls. While firewalls reduce the network layer problem significantly, the game for the hackers have now shifted to the application layer. Well, what do we do? Let me add an example to elucidate my point. In The Art of War, the oldest military treatise in recorded history, written by none other than Sun Tzu back in the 6th century BC, in chapter 12, The Attack by Fire, Sun Tzu expands on how an inside attack can help an attacker win a war with very minimal efforts. He said, and I quote, "When the fire breaks out inside the enemy's camp, respond at once with an attack from the outside." Sun Tzu believed in weakening the enemy from the inside. This, folks, is 2018, and the hackers are smarter than way before. They don't just target the external layer of your network where they know you have the entire focus, but rather they target the internal vulnerabilities. Vulnerabilities in your application code. It's 2018, and we are talking about companies that are on the verge of becoming $1 trillion companies. Incidentally, the top companies globally have built their assets based on software or web applications. Alphabet or Google and Amazon, one of the biggest brands in the world today, can easily attribute all of the company's successes towards making the right applications. This is why major companies across the world are in desperate need to hire reliable application security engineers. Yet many of these jobs go unfulfilled. Why is that, you may wonder? That is because the skill gap in application security is so wide that organizations find it tough to recruit the right people. To further understand what is at stake for the large enterprises, let's understand the possible business impact of not having secure application systems in place. Try and calculate how much these businesses risk losing in a day if their websites get hacked or stop functioning. If these numbers don't look shocking enough, do consider that if 4 of these websites go down, they will collectively lose $55 million every single hour. $55 million every single hour. Let's talk about the job market for a while. We're talking about organizations that collectively employ close to 1 million security professionals worldwide. Think about the kind of importance that application security engineers hold for such organizations. Organizations that are based on web application assets. Amazon itself has upwards of 500,000 employees across the globe. That's not small. To better understand the application security job market, please take note that there are over 21 million software developers in the world today, and the number is increasing every single day. Software developers have over 1,000 reasons to get application security training. One of the very exciting reasons is this. According to payscale.com, the average salary of an application developer is US $68,000. But the average annual salary of an application security engineer is about $121,000 US. Application security engineers clearly highlight the most obvious paradigm shift in the work nature of application developers. They get paid almost double than other application developers. The industry message to them is clear. We need candidates who can write code for us, but we also want candidates that can write secure code. A notable example of a global leader that welcomes prospective candidates with skills in application security is none other than Amazon itself, which has over 2,300 open jobs for one role, the application security engineer. When we search similar keywords like secure application, security engineer, and so on, we found about 50,000 jobs that were readily available. Think about that. 50,000 positions that were available for that position. Think how big is this opportunity. Why am I telling you this? because application vulnerabilities become an easy target for cyber criminals. To fortify these vulnerabilities, it is important to observe, understand, and then defend them, not by being reactive, but by being proactive. Do you really think people working on modern software applications and web domains know their application security as well as they should? Do you really think universities train them well enough? Well, we spoke to leaders who have served Fortune 500 organizations and recruiters of application developers. We wanted to know their level of satisfaction when it came to the knowledge of security engineers. When it came to the security knowledge of an average software engineer, the result was shocking. We spoke to Gary Feinstein, Director of IT Security and Compliance at Michael Kors. We asked him how important was it for him to train his IT security team. We also asked him if universities train application security students sufficiently before they get their first jobs. Here's what he had to say.
Even in larger environments, most IT security teams tend to be understaffed, yet hold responsibility across a vast number of organizational assets. Because of this, I believe cross-training within the team is necessary to ensure the efficiency and effectiveness of the security operations team. On-the-job training is particularly critical since I don't believe many universities are instructing college students on the applications and systems that you would typically find in a corporate environment. While universities do offer classes on things like the basics of programming, networking, and computer architecture, I'm not sure that they're readying graduates on endpoint protection platforms, identity and access management, compliance, and other areas of security operations that would greatly prepare them for corporate job. I'm not sure that hiring recent college graduates for security positions is the best decision, as they tend to lack on-the-job experience. Security is generally one of the most complex areas of information technology operations, and most of the successful individuals in this field have spent years working in multiple areas of technology. Security operations requires you to be adept at performing triage during incidents and really understanding the threat matrix as it applies to the organization. I believe these are skills that are not taught at the university level and need to either be learned through practical experience or via specialized training. This is where organizations like EC Council can provide significant value through their IT security training programs. I think educational institutions should start to mirror the coursework that's being offered by the technology certification bodies. EC Council, for example, has an extensive catalog of programs, including their forensic investigations, ethical hacking, advanced pen testing, encryption, and network defense. These are concepts that have real-world value to organizations and can be applied to pretty much any industry. Computer science degrees should be incorporating this type of relevant coursework into their standard curriculum to ensure that the graduates are well prepared for a career in security operations.
Jonathan Zhuang was, until recently, Senior Vice President, Global IT Infrastructure at Ralph Lauren, before becoming an independent consultant. We asked him how companies deal with the dilemma of spending on application infrastructure versus building the skills of their application security engineers. Here is Jonathan's insight for us.
There are cyber attacks and breaches happening every day, and not all companies come out and talk about it. This makes it tough to pinpoint which companies have faced such a challenge. A lot of folks on boards don't really understand the implications of a lot of these security questions, and they may put more money into security infrastructure as an example, and that may not be the answer. The answer is to understand the risk and how it's going to impact your business. There's a general lack of knowledge on boards and balance. So if something happens in the industry, they may go overboard and put money in the wrong place. Most developers and application engineers don't really have a good appreciation of security from the point of view of how to develop the application to be secure. Security, in my opinion, is always a little behind and has a long way to catch up.
Further, adding to our concern was a study conducted by EC Council a couple of years ago, which had over 10,000 responders and which comprised of students of computer science from various universities. The report showed alarming figures when it came to understanding across various fundamental areas of security. The same report showed that less than 1% of candidates were actually skilled, with roughly 12% of them qualifying as trainable, i.e. they exhibited at least a certain very low level of understanding of key concepts that were worthy of training. Speaking of university computer science students, we wanted to understand the dynamics that leaders experience while hiring university graduates. We spoke to David Kosorok, Director of Application Security at SAP Concur. He couldn't join us on video, but in his message, he observed a lack of security exposure in candidates he interviewed. Personally, I agree with David that if universities provided more in-depth and comprehensive security courses, it would lift a tremendous burden of recruiters, both in terms of time and in money. And we have the perfect solution for it. Their response inspired us to chalk out one of the most practical and required training program for application security engineers. We did this after speaking to industry leaders that run large software teams, carefully examining the university curricula of leading universities around the world, and also scanning the software security job requirements. We believe that we have made something that can severely improve or even cure the epidemic of faulty application development. EC Council, the world's largest body in cybersecurity training, in its global mission to mitigate risks from cyber attacks, presents CASE, Certified Application Security Engineer for .NET and Java programming languages. A completely hands-on training program, CASE promises to be a unique learning experience for application security engineers. CASE starts the training process from covering the most common application security level attacks like SQL injection attacks, cross-site scripting attacks, cross-site request forgery attack, cookie session poisoning, and denial of service attack, among many others. Keeping up with his commitment of providing hands-on training, CASE trains a candidate in practical issues like cost of recovering vulnerabilities in the SDLC phases, securing coding practices for cryptography to final phases of SDLC such as secure deployment and maintenance. A CASE certified engineer will be able to defend, protect, and avenge all attacks on the application security layer span across the SDLC process. For an organization, following the secure SDLC framework will ensure that their software compliance standards are met. From a business perspective, having CASE certified professionals in your team will ensure much better ROI on software spend, since the cost of recovering web vulnerabilities increases exponentially as the SDLC phase progresses. In fact, if the software reaches its deployment phase, it can take up to 100 times the cost to recover any web vulnerabilities by then, since it almost means redoing everything from scratch. Think about that. 100 times the cost to recover any web vulnerabilities, or you will have to redo everything from scratch. Given the importance of the role that a CASE certified candidate will be performing, we provide them in this program with the opportunity to learn with an interactive lab feature. The lab will simulate a real-world experience to ensure that the candidate is at ease when dealing with high-pressure, intense situation in real life. This makes CASE a comprehensive application security program that ensures proper awareness, training, education, testing, integrated with development. In fact, CASE was built to provide for the job task analysis of roles involved in application security. To assure this, We ensure that the case program maps to many specialty area under the securely provisioned category NICE 2.0 framework. It is worth mentioning here who we intended to make case for. Simple answer: anyone who wishes to see their application secure. Of course, that means anyone who satisfies the eligibility criteria. This narrows it down to the vast group of application developers, software programmers, project managers, testers, website developers, website network administrators, and individuals involved in managing or protecting the wide area of applications. CASE is the perfect choice for professionals who want to become an invaluable application security engineer. While designing CASE, we focused on solving all of the problems that an organization faces while dealing with application insecurity. Our technology team spent many months of toil highlighting app security threats and countering them using the CASE program. We begin this program with SQL injections, the dread of an IT infrastructure team, as it can be easily managed if one undergoes training in the CASE program, which categorically trains a candidate on how to code defensively. Then we cover various server authorization methodologies, manual application penetration testing, and tackle most, if not all, of SQL-related threats across the secure SDLC framework. An entire module is dedicated to security requirements gathering. There, we learn about software assurance maturity models, SAM, which can steadily improve the software security posture of companies over time so that they can heave a sigh of relief once their engineers are CASE certified. Candidates will be extensively trained in various security software frameworks, including the BSIMM, and we also include sub-module on the intricate differences between BSIMM and OpenSAMM. To ease the pressure of application security managers, in Module 3, we teach secure application design and architecture. Here, we teach you how to enumerate external dependencies, entry points, assets, and trust levels. We also cover threat modeling in explicit details. The training starts from the basics and goes on to cover threat modeling phases, processes, and even consequential documentation of the same. In this module, we also cover other types of secure design actions, such as secure application architecture. The famous STRIDE model is thought to develop a candidate's competencies in identifying threats and categorizing them with suitable examples that you can apply in real life. Do you believe it is important for an aspiring application security engineer to be well versed with the common threats on user authentication authorization? Therefore, input validation techniques become our focus next in this program. Authentication and authorization, as the name suggests, it covers relevant threats such as account hijacking, man-in-the-middle attack, phishing attacks, unauthorized access, information leakage, privilege escalation, and sniffing attacks. Our endeavor is to educate a CASE engineer in all aspects of application security, including a deep understanding of recent threats. In Module 6, the resurgence and increasing relevance of cryptography is discussed in detail, as it is an important skill that you need to have when applying for your next job interview. An entire module has been dedicated to secure coding practices for cryptography. It spans across the basics such as introduction to cryptography, cryptographic attacks, common threats on functions of cryptography, mitigation techniques and types of cryptographic attacks. It also teaches additional methods such as symmetric and asymmetric encryption as defensive coding practices against insecure cryptographic storage. It features important concepts such as cipher modes, including the vulnerabilities in using ECB cipher mode, hashing, digital signatures, XML signatures, and digital certificates. In Chapter 7, we learn about error handling, which is a crucial aspect of secure coding and where most security lags happen, unfortunately. Developers are best friends with errors and exceptions, and mostly successful developers would handle them like a pro. CASE brings you an exhaustive module dedicated to error handling. You will learn how to monitor, prioritize, log, and audit most common yet deadly errors and exceptions. In Chapter 8, we cover session management. You will be introduced to exciting chapters in session management such as cross-site script attack on sessions, cookie-based session management, token management, session hijacking, server-side session management, among many more techniques that you must know and something that every software team must understand. I haven't held to you a fact in such a long time, and I think it's now time that I should tell you this. The global open source services market is expected to grow from USD $11.4 billion in 2017 to $32.95 billion by 2022 at a compounding annual growth rate of 23.65%. Do you realize how much importance this places on the training of security testing techniques such as static and dynamic application security testing, commonly known as SAST and DAST? It's huge. Utilizing our experience in being one of the world's leading cybersecurity training and certification bodies for close to 2 decades, we will be teaching SAST and DAST like no other. Beginning from the very objective of them to building the skills required for them, types of them, code review for about 50 unique test cases of them collectively, reporting of them in a professional manner, and eventually understanding where secure code review fits in SDLC. We teach it all. The industry's need of the hour is a secure SDLC, period. The final phase of SDLC happens to be the 10th and final module of CASE, Secure Application Deployment and Maintenance. Let me assure you that a candidate with a CASE certification will exhibit a genuine understanding and expertise of secure deployment and maintenance. We begin that module starting with prior deployment activity to deployment activities, including the ability to ensure security at host level, network level, application level, IIS level, .NET level, SQL server level. With knowledge of sites and virtual directories, ISAPI filters monitoring, a CASE certified candidate will ensure application security in your organization like no other. We have kept a strict eligibility policy for anyone to be a CASE certified professional because we would like to uphold the brand of CASE with the technical integrity that it brings to the table. Because in the end, it's not just uncertainty that we're dealing with. We're dealing with a hidden enemy. One that is tirelessly working towards pushing back the advancements that you have achieved so far. You're dealing with a Thanos who is hero in his own eyes. That gives him strength. Does being a hero of your family, your organization, or your community motivate you enough to become a certified application security engineer? If so, I invite you to visit www.ecouncil.org/case. Take your first step in becoming an application security hero of your life. Are you ready? If you represent an enterprise and are keen to understand how EC Council can help your organization create certified application security engineers to mitigate inherent application security risks, please visit www.ecouncil.org/case or contact an EC Council accredited training center in your city. I thank you for listening. See you soon. Goodbye.